Hey y'all, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to be filming yet again today another video for my version of Vlogmas, which is me attempting to put out 3 videos a week for y'all here on YouTube in addition to what I'm doing over on Bookstagram. So today's video is going to be a wrap up of all the series that I still need to complete. Alright, so for this video I have chosen 8 series that I have started that I want to complete. I've also included series that I'm caught up on, but as new installments come out, I'm choosing to continue them. I have quite a few series that I have started and I'm choosing not to finish, but that's going to be saved for a different video. First off, let me tell you a little bit about how my week is going. I have been filming a lot for YouTube. I am choosing to do a little bit of Bookmas or Vlogmas. I'm still keeping up with my Instagram. I am working on career-related things. I'm trying to read. I'm hosting a readathon on Instagram right now. You can find me over there at The Magical Reader. And my last day has been hectic. My boyfriend is out of town with the football team, and I am here by myself, and everything has just like fallen apart. My artwork fell off the wall yesterday. It knocked my internet out of connection. It ripped everything off the wall. So I woke up with no internet. I woke up with swollen eyes from allergies and a bruise on my forehead. So I have gotten full glam makeup for no reason. Just here to film YouTube and to feel a little bit better about my morning. But I am excited to be filming this with y'all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into these 8 series that I want to continue on with. Alright, so the first book that I will talk about is Cinder, which is in the Lunar Chronicles, and that is this one right here. I absolutely love this edition of the cover. I've read the first 2 books in this series, but I believe there are 2 more full-length books and maybe 2 novellas. Cinder is a really fun YA sci-fi fantasy fairy tale type story. Obviously, it's reminiscent to Cinderella, as per the name. But the Lunar Chronicles are super cool, and they deal with cyborgs in the city of New Beijing. There's a plague ongoing in the population, which is an interesting and timely conversation to be reading about. And there's also a population of people on the moon who are interested in threatening Earth. Cinder follows along with the fairy tale of Cinderella pretty closely, but it is more sci-fi related. It's a very interesting story, and I had a lot of fun reading it. I did the first 2 books primarily on audio, and I do want to continue. I'm not particularly drawn to the story in that I feel like I need to know what happens next, but I know that I do have fun when I am reading it. So next time I need to pick up an audiobook, I'll probably get one of the next Lunar Chronicle books from my library as an audio and have that for a long drive or a commute. Alright, so the next one I'll talk about is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is a 3-part series. And it is a YA mystery. I've talked about this one here on my channel before. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is a YA mystery about a character named Pip, and she is trying to solve a murder that happened in her town a few years ago, and she is using it as a school project. She is very interested in true crime, and in the second book she moves on to creating a podcast. There's also a 3rd book in this series, and I plan to at least read the second one. I know that most people love the first and the second. The 3rd book is very polarizing. I've actually read a spoiler accidentally of the 3rd book, and I know one of the main plot twists that's going to happen, and I know I'm not going to like it. So this is kind of one of those weird ones when I am going to read the 2nd book in the series, but I'm going to stop after that. So I will keep going, but I know ahead of time that I'm going to stop, if that makes sense. I've talked to a lot of people on Instagram about this, and they said it's okay to just read the first 2. The 3rd isn't necessarily what you have to read. But if you're a completionist, I've heard of a lot of people that really do like it. But for the people that don't, it's one of those books that makes them want to throw the book across the room. If you've read Allegiant and Divergent and you didn't like the ending, I've heard it's very comparable in the feeling that the reader gets. I love the ending to Allegiant. You guys, like, I should have that as my bio at this point. But yeah, that's what I've heard so far about the 3rd book. So, to recap, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I've read the first. I will read the second. I am not going to read the third. All right, the next one I'm going to include is King of Scars, which is part of the Grishaverse. So I have read the first 3 books in the Shadow and Bone series. I've watched the TV show. I have read the 2 books in the Six of Crows duology, and I have started this book, King of Scars, and by that I mean I've read 10 pages about 3 months ago, and I haven't picked it up since. So I would say that I have started the series technically, but in general what I mean is that I want to complete this whole world of the Grishaverse. Shadow and Bone takes us along the ride with characters named Alina, Mal, and the Darkling, as well as a few other supporting characters, while Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom take us along with a different set of characters working in the same world. This third series, or duology, King of Scars, focuses on Nikolai and Zoya and Genya and a few other characters from the original trilogy. And I was gifted this series by a friend, Tori, over on Bookstagram, and I really want to finish it. Something that I love about these books by Leigh Bardugo is that the world is so big, right? So you can just read Shadow and Bone if you want. Some people have just read Six of Crows, but I think it's really fun to be able to keep going and keep going. For those of us who are readers that have a pretty big imagination, we like to be able to go to a different world and feel like we're sitting with those characters for a long time, and that's why I want to keep reading this series. Alright, next one up is this one right here, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. This series I have caught up with so far up to A Court of Silver Flames, but there is going to be another book coming out after this one, and I do want to continue on with it. So I recently filmed my review for A Court of Silver Flames, which is my top book of 2021, and because of that I really do want to continue on with this series. I was not a fan of the first book. I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the second because I didn't love the romance, and I know that's, an unpopular opinion, and that's okay. But I do love where the story is going now. I really like the plot. I like the characters that we're focusing on here. And overall, I think it's one of my favorite fantasy series, and I love that it's expanding. Or like that Sarah J. Maas writes long series more than just a duology or a trilogy. And like I said, I like to be able to sit with these characters for a long time. And it kind of is reminiscent of being a kid when I was reading the series as they came out. I stopped reading when I was in college as well as grad school and more into my professional life, and restarted reading about a year and a half ago. And so it's really cool to be reading a series again as it releases rather than catching up on all of the backlist titles. The next one that I'm definitely going to finish reading is Inheritance Games. This book is the first in a trilogy entitled The Inheritance Games. The second one is The Hawthorne Legacy, and the third one I believe is The Final Gambit. It comes in a red cover, and I'm so excited for when this third book comes out. I feel like at this point I might as well just be a spokesperson for The Inheritance Games because all I feel like I do is spam you guys with content about this book. So I absolutely love this series. I thought it was going to be a duology. Like I really thought that, and I think a lot of people did too. And then the author released that she was going to be writing a third book, and I am over the moon. These books are unreal. This is a YA mystery about a girl who grew up in relative poverty, and she is coming into wealth through a billionaire's inheritance, but she does not know the billionaire. And so all of the family members of this man are very angry, obviously, about the fact that someone they don't know is getting their inheritance. The idea is that she has to live in the family house with them for the next year in order to get her money, but there's a lot of games that are played along the way. It's high stakes, it's fast, it is YA, but it's very age appropriate, I think, in comparison to some other YA titles. And I think that a lot of young people as well as adults will really like this series. It's one of my biggest recommendations, and I can't imagine not continuing on with the series. Alright, next one I'll talk about is the Throne of Glass series. The last one I need to finish is Kingdom of Ash. This book is ginormous. It is like 992 pages or something crazy like that. I am so excited to read this book. I've started it 3 times. I just can't get myself to do it. Everyone says I'm going to weep. I don't even really cry reading books, like very infrequently, but I'm just so nervous to read this book, even though I'm really excited to read it. I guess the moral of the story is I just don't want it to be over. I've really loved the Throne of Glass series and I can't wait to reread it. Like I said before, I love Sarah J. Maas for putting in long series. I love a world that expands and it's more than just a brief moment in time. I feel like I know these characters. I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to experience, but at the same time, our main character is Aelin and she does whatever she wants. So in reality, I don't really know what's going to happen in this book. But again, this is Kingdom of Ash and is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. I am definitely going to continue on with this series. It's the last one that I need to read. I finished Empire of Storms in October of 2020. If that gives you any idea of how much I'm putting off this dang book, yeah, I really want to finish the series, but I also don't. Like, I want to read the story, but I want to allow myself to take like 3 months to do it. And really just like bask in its entirety, if that makes sense. All right, so the next one I want to continue on with is this series right here. And in this case, this is My Lady Jane, which I gave 5 stars to. I remember I read it last New Year's Eve. I read it in one sitting and I immediately recommended it to so many people. It's written by the Lady Janies. They are a trio of fantastic authors who write this series of books that are historical but also fantasy twisted on its head, and they're really entertaining and really funny. One of the authors is Jodi Meadows, who I have absolutely loved. I've loved her books so far. She just sent me an arc of her newest release that's coming out January 11th called Night Render, and I'm just so excited to continue reading books by Jodi. I own all of her series on my shelf. She takes up like a full shelf, and I've loved everything she's written so far. I loved My Lady Jane, but she also has My Plain Jane. She has My Calamity Jane, and then they go into another series. What is it? Mary. They go into My Contrary Mary, and so they have 3 books about Janes. They have 3 books about Marys, or they will have 3 books about Marys. But again, they are historical books about these famous women. In this case, this one's about Lady Jane Grey, and they basically take the historical story and they turn it on its head and they give it some fantastical elements, including shapeshifting. So it's like kind of quirky, it's funny, it's entertaining, and I can't wait to read the rest of these books. The last one that I've got here that I want to finish reading is the Daevabad trilogy, and that is this one right here, and the first one is The City of Brass. So I read The City of Brass last year. It is long, it is dense, and it is beautiful. It is magnificently written. It's very detailed, and the world is absolutely beautiful. It is based in Middle Eastern, Asian, North African folklore, and it's a really beautiful story. That being said, I remember like 3 details from the entire story. So I'm gonna have to go on Wiki and read up on what this book was about before I continue on with the series. Just because I don't remember the details doesn't mean that I don't remember the feelings that I had when I read it and that I don't remember that it was good, right? So I remember that it was brilliant. It was 5 stars. It took me like a month to read because I really wanted to dedicate the time to it, sort of like how I want to do with Kingdom of Ash. But there are 2 more books in this series. It is an adult fantasy, and it is absolutely beautiful. If you are looking to get into adult fantasy and you want something maybe a little more complex than Sarah J. Maas, but not as complex as something like Lord of the Rings or The Wheel of Time, I think this is a good starting place. It's a beautiful story, really well written and really dense, but at the same time, I found it pretty easy to follow. The covers are stunning. The cultural references are really beautiful as well. And I love the journey that this takes us on with the different characters that we interact with. Our female lead is a very strong character, and she's very competent and she's very intelligent, and you all know that I love that in a book. I have a video coming up of all the books that I want to read in 2022, but I definitely want to focus on completing some series so that I feel like I have less things sort of lingering on my plate. I love the feeling of completion. So hopefully I can get to some of these series. I'm going to link them down in the description box below. As always, those are affiliate links. So if you choose to shop through that link, I may receive a commission from you clicking on that link. If that's not something you're comfortable with, just shop the way you normally do. I hopefully will see you guys in my next few videos upcoming here in Vlogmas, and thank you for sticking around. Don't forget to comment down below if you have read any of these series or if you are interested in reading them. Also, don't forget to subscribe and definitely hit the like button if you enjoy my content. That really helps me out a lot with the algorithm here on YouTube. So as always, thanks for stopping by, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!